Welcome to the Legion Outriders podcast, a member of the Radio Free Tattooing Network.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
Your source for the latest Legion news, opinion, and analysis.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
John Archiquette.
Will somebody get this big walking carpet out of my way?
Matt Turner.
I'm not afraid.
And Joshua Gray.
You will be.
What's going on, Outriders? John, Josh, and no Matt at the moment.
At the moment. He's out tending the store.
Yeah,
this is what happens when you do a podcast on a Saturday afternoon.
But in his place, and I would have to probably say a general upgrade overall.
I mean, you can say that. I'm not gonna.
I'm gonna say it. It's been said. I'm not taking it back.
That's right.
We got LJ and Nick Freeman here with us, and we've had them on the show before.
LJ, you don't get a last name.
LJ Pena.
Thank you.
He's kind of like Pele or Seal. Just a mononym.
I've upgraded. You can just call me Cher. We're in Vegas.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, so we've got the two people who've basically been on the show before who were here in spirit, but now we have them in here in person.
Us. Well, LJ's been in here before.
That's true, but John and I haven't been here together.
That's true.
So it is a first in that respect.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I'd say reunited, and it feels so good, but they're just united, I guess, for the first time ever. I don't know how that works, but
So what are you guys doing in Vegas? Like, why? I don't understand.
Well, they're here to talk about gin,
in
which we got that article, and then Sabine and Bosk, and nothing else important has happened.
Because nothing else happened in Vegas, right?
Nothing.
No,
at all.
I just lost a game, actually, so nothing important.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you came all the way up to Vegas to lose a game.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
I think Nick came all the way up to Vegas to lose a game, too.
I tried my hardest.
Yeah, Impact X, 0-2. Check.
No, so we just wrapped up with LVO yesterday, and
what an experience, man!
It was awesome.
Great.
It was a great time, and LJ was basically the man who set this whole thing up, and I have to say, just from a player perspective, it was awesome. It was it was a great experience.
It was. I mean, I've played a lot of major X-Wing events, and this was by far the best event that I've ever been a part of. The tables were just fantastic. I mean, if you could imagine a gaming table being like a work of art, that's what we had here at this tournament. It was phenomenal.
I've been going to conventions for almost 20 years, and this was honestly one of the best I've been to.
So LJ, now that it's all done with, how do you feel?
I'm still ready to go back to bed. Seriously. No, I mean, I feel pretty good about it. I mean, this isn't the first event that I've run, but to be perfectly honest, this is actually the first convention that I've been to and the first convention that I have run, like a tournament setting. So I've done local stuff, but I haven't done anything this big before in person. So it was cool to kind of get the feel for that and see how things went, because this was kind of, believe it or not, this was kind of a test, because I wanted to see what a big Legion event would look like and how it would run, so that when we do this again next year, I have kind of the blueprint and we can improve from that.
So you've never even been to a convention before this point?
No, haven't been to like Gen Con, Adepticons, any of that.
Wow. So you just basically set the bar incredibly high for everyone else who's probably been doing this for years.
Talk about shooting your shot.
No, I've been around competitive wargaming before, but the biggest it got was our local ITC circuit up in Washington.
Okay.
The store that I played at while I was in college ran some pretty sizable events. And so the guy that ran that store, and not that he'd ever listen to this podcast because he's not a Legion player, but Bob Kelly, who runs the scene up there.
Okay.
I learned almost everything I do from him. His sense of community building, his professional way of running things, just the way that he presents himself. I've tried to emulate a lot of that, and if he could hear this podcast, hopefully he can hear that. I think I attribute some of that success to him.
And that's one of the things that really impressed me the most about this weekend is, like you said, that sense of community. We had a bunch of players up here on Thursday night, the night prior to the tournament. And this isn't exactly a walk across the street from the venue that we were at down on the Strip.
Yeah.
You guys have been here since what? I mean, we're recording this at 3:00 local time. You guys have been here since
11.
11? Yeah. I mean, and there's another 5 or 6 people out there that were just playing in the tournament, and we're just like, well, I guess I'll go up and get some more Legion in.
Yeah.
I mean, just seeing that kind of togetherness and everybody wanting to kind of get together and it's awesome.
Not to mention the distance some people came from.
Right.
We've got
Yeah.
Canada.
Yeah.
We've got
and
both
Kyle,
coasts,
Kyle
yeah.
who judged, he's a Nova guy, and he came to Vegas just to judge and help us out.
Right, which is awesome too.
Yeah.
I mean,
he didn't even get to play.
Yeah, he
No.
wasn't. It's one thing when you come up here as the tournament organizer and you're driving up from California,
Right.
It's a whole other thing entirely to get on a plane, deal with DC airports, and then fly all the way out here just to help judge.
Yeah.
I mean, that's I can't. It's great. I love it.
DC airports right after the government shut down, no less.
Yeah, that too. Right? Yeah.
So Nick, for somebody who's been to tournaments for Legion before, how did this stack up compared to the other events? And keep in mind, LJ's sitting within arm's reach of you.
Well, so like I said, I've been going to tournaments for 20 years, and this is easily on par with some of the best 40K tournaments I've been to. This blows all the other Legion stuff out of the water, no question. And I think this is the standard the community should aim for, both in terms of participation, but also the quality of the management and the table setup. I think this is the gold standard.
So yesterday, and you were kind of doing the wrap up, you were talking about comparing our event with some of the other events that LVO hosts, and you said that they usually sit around like a 20% dropout or a 10% dropout rate or something like that.
Yeah, and I talked to one of the guys from Frontline just to kind of get his sense about like what their casual drop rate is, and he says it's between 10-15% or so.
What did you guys see here?
So we started the day. We had the goal of 64. We were missing a couple people, but we had some waitlisted people show up. So we started the day with 62, and we ended the day with 61.
That's incredible.
and the 60, the one that dropped, he didn't actually leave. He just stopped playing.
Okay.
It was Dan of Dan Wolf Games who brought one of the tables up, and he pushed pretty hard to get here, and so he stopped playing for like sleep reasons because he was just tapped out. So like he tried, he's like, hey, I'm going to do it. I'm going to come, I'm going to play. And then he got a couple rounds in and was like, all right, I got to take a break. So, I mean, we made it, and that wasn't even like at the beginning of the day. We made it halfway through the tournament before that first drop. So, there were a couple rounds where things were at that full 62. So about half the tournament.
Yeah, and like for me, my first time ever playing in a gaming tournament like this, where you have this many games in a day, it is definitely mentally taxing. So I can totally understand if you're driving all night the night before and having to do all that stuff.
And he came from the Midwest, so he drove, straight.
Wow.
Either drove or flew. No, he flew, but he's still he had real life to contend with. So
sure. And I just while we're on the topic, he brought one of my favorite tables there.
The Bestman table?
The Bestman table, yeah, it was incredible. I got to play my my last game on that table, and God, it was beautiful. It's just
words don't do any of it any justice. I mean,
but it wasn't just that one table. Like every table was unique. Every table had its own feel to it. Now, who were some of the people that supplied the table stuff here?
So the tables came from all over the place. The majority, and this is a good time for a shout out for the Arizona crew, for Nate, John, and of course Brendan. They supplied a total of 19 of the 32 tables from their local group.
Okay.
There's somebody from their community that they got some of that terrain from, a good majority of it. And then Brendan also works at a store in Arizona and was able to piece together a lot of stuff from him. We had 10 tables from Imperial Terrain. So they supplied most of the top 10 tables were from them, including that Temple table number 9. That was, that's the real looker.
Yeah,
That's
that was
everybody's favorite of the
yeah.
day. And then Dan Wolf Games supplied a table. Corvus Games Terrain supplied a table. We had a guy from my local scene, Austin, that brought 2 tables up, and then Tashi Station, which is also from my local scene, that brought a table up. So, I mean, it was a good 6 or 7 sources that, we powwow together and knock this out, which was pretty cool.
Now, it seems like a lot of that terrain was regional to kind of the Southwest.
Yes.
So when we talk about, this is the standard going forward for Gen Con, Adepticon, things like that, how easy is that? Do you guys think that's going to be to get all of that terrain there when you're talking Midwest?
Well, when you start talking about the Midwest, I mean, you've got the kind of that Stabcast area, the Tennessee groups that they, have a hand in. that I think are more than happy to help, and they've got good-looking stuff. The Chicago group is growing all the time. That GameStorm group that we're probably going to talk about later because they did pretty well at the end of the day.
Yeah.
The Nova area that you've got to draw from, and then you've got Dave from Imperial Terrain, he's Texas-based. So it's nice that he's kind of in the middle because it's not as hard for him to come this way or go any of the east directions because it's usually like a 1 or 2 day drive for him.
And Nick, is it? You said you've been playing 40K for a long time. Is it normal for like a Gen Con or even LVO for the community to be the ones providing that kind of terrain, or is it usually up to where does terrain normally come from?
That depends on the event. I think each event is different. I know for LVO, they do rely a lot on the community. But others have official terrain. Some companies provide. Yeah, it's all over.
Well, we talk about the tables, but I mean, let's talk about the real meat of the story here. The games. How did the games go? Before we get into how the three of us did on the table, LJ, what did you see from your perspective? Like, what were you surprised by the list that you saw?
That's actually one of the things that I spent the least time with was actually watching the games. The only things I heard were some of the after effects.
Okay.
I think the best thing that I heard about was there was one game where it went to points, points were tied, and it had to go to blue player. And that's the first time I've ever seen that happen, including like running the Invader League, playing my own games. That was the first time I'd ever seen that happen. That was actually one of my favorite moments from the day. But, I mean, I think I enjoyed seeing the variety because so many people came out from different places in the country. It was cool to see what the Arizona scene looks like and what the Chicago scene looks like. And you could see some of those metas like prevalent in the list. Like some of the lists from the same areas were definitely similar.
Yeah.
And so I enjoyed seeing like specific metas, I guess. But I mean, to be honest, I didn't get to watch as many games as I would have liked because most rounds I was busy trying to portion out stuff to give people, enter results, make sure other little fires were put out. So, I didn't get to look at the tables as much as I would have liked. But I liked that, I saw people working together. There was a lot of very collaborative games that I observed or interactions where people were more than happy to help each other out. And I saw a lot of people complimenting each other, and that was awesome. And there was nobody that like looked like they were maybe judging because you brought a T-47 or something like that. There
more
was,
on that later.
Yeah, more on that later. There was that slightly controversial X-wing table where you've got the X-wing staging area and you've got the 4 sets of 2 and the X-wings are facing outward like they're going to take off. I got to see 2 ATSTs square off on that table.
Oh boy,
that was a dream for me. So, and then I got to get a lot of feedback on the stuff that we put out on the tables that we put out because some of the terrain was a little untested. Dave got to see his stuff run through the gauntlet, and he got a ton of awesome feedback from people. So that was really cool. And you guys were talking about how you like the Bespin table.
Yeah.
And like for me, the Bespin table represents like my 2 babies meeting each other.
Okay.
The Invader League, because that Bespin table is from Invader League Season 2. Like that whole setup is a table we made for the digital Invader League. And then Dan Wolf printed, because that's where the files came from.
Yeah.
And then we brought to Vegas and people got to play on it.
That's awesome. That's because it's taking the digital version of the game, the stuff you guys do on TTS, and honestly that is a huge validator of what you guys do there.
Yeah.
That the game actually plays as well on the tabletop with the same exact layout.
Yeah, and it was kind of cool to see. Speaking of validating, that some of the experience that we get on the digital side of things does occasionally translate to the real world.
Yeah, how'd your TTS players do in the rankings?
They did all right. We'll give a shout out to Davis, also known as Kingsley, who's kind of one of our favorite Discord members. He's won both the Invader Leagues, but he hasn't had the chance to go to any big tournaments yet. He's local to San Francisco, so nothing was really close to him until this. And he actually almost didn't attend because something held him up at work, and so he actually wasn't going to go. And then at 11 o'clock at night, ran to catch a plane and made it. So he didn't get in till like 1 in the morning, and then went to bed for like 4 hours, and then came to the tournament. and he went 5-0 and got third place overall.
Nice.
Wow.
So
I wish.
we were wondering how he was going to perform. Everybody was like, "Yeah, we want to see him go and dominate, a tournament that we're all watching," and he did.
What was he running?
He was running, and I can pull that up right now. He had a list that a lot of people thought was interesting because he's playing Rebels, which is what he usually plays, and he included an FD laser cannon.
Really? Okay.
So his list was Luke with push and stims, Leia with improvised orders and a steam leader, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Rebel troopers with Z6, triple snipers, and the FD.
Okay, so
it was very efficient.
Yeah.
I mean, all the Rebel troopers, Rebel trooper, Z6. All the snipers, strike team, sniper. The commanders are the only ones that have any toys. The FD, totally naked.
okay.
And that was his 5-0 list. We do have one person at the table that played against him that might be able to talk about their game. But but I mean, as far as I could tell, he just played a good game.
Yeah.
He focused on what was important and won all of his games. That's Kingsley. He keeps it simple and accomplishes the mission.
Yeah, so playing against him, I noticed he's very much a fundamentals player. So he's not trying any tricks. He's not doing anything fancy. He's just really good at the basic interactions and not making mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, he's got a very analytical way of looking at the game, and that's why we've worked together in the past. He's my head judge for the Invader League right now because I like his approach. I like the way he thinks about things. So in the case of Kingsley versus Nick, which I think happened in round two, it was fundamentals versus jank.
Yeah. So I think we're on opposite ends of the spectrum. He's playing fundamentals, and I'm playing the craziest things I can. So it was an interesting game. That specific game, probably not great because his list was pretty much a hard counter to mine. In addition to him playing 3 snipers, Leia, and the FD, I had Vader and 3 Sabs on a wide open table. So didn't go great.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of disparity between different tables. You could have one that had very light cover, light terrain. You have one that was
a maze
full of it. Yeah,
right. Yeah.
So a lot of times it depended on the missions that you got. Which, let's face it, I mean that's what the random nature of the game is. That's why we don't play on a 2D surface with
Yeah.
Well, and that was kind of the
cardboard,
point too. Was that there were a couple people that talked about the difference that they saw in the tables. And, Brendan, my marshal, who that was kind of his job, was making sure the tables were set. He was talking about it all day that we weren't playing StarCraft. He didn't want, the ITC cookie cutter format where you've got 5 different maps. You're going to play on one of these 5 different setups. If you went the distance at LVO, it's because you brought something and could navigate the map. No matter what you brought, you could navigate the situation.
Yeah.
And I think the way we set it up rewarded people who kind of stuck to that principle, or they got lucky. But hey, that's Vegas, baby.
Yeah.
And I think we accomplished that objective because you couldn't just say, oh, there's going to be very little terrain. I'll just bring long range and decimate everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You could get the maze first round and then the open the second round and then something in the middle the third round. And we didn't seed tables based on your win-loss. I put random every time because I wanted you to go all over the place and see all the tables.
Yeah.
Which I liked. And I don't think anybody got the same table twice.
No, I didn't.
So.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, there was a huge disparity in the list there too. I fully expected, and a lot of it based on our local meta. I fully expected to see a ton of snipers. I only saw one list with snipers. The entire out of the 4 games, I only had one list that had snipers.
That's interesting because all 4 of my opponents
really?
had snipers.
Well,
yeah. I know there was a great variety, and I mean we're at the point now where we're almost a year into the game, and the variety I saw out there is awesome. I can't quite speak to the list variety yet because one of my judges, Kyle, took all of the list with him. He's the one that does the Never Tell Me the Odds blog,
right?
And so Kyle he's going to do all that data. He's got all the report slips and all of the lists, so he's going to be able to tell you everything. And I mean he's got somewhere to the tune of 120 games of data, just like when I came and talked to you guys about the Invader League stuff. He's going to do the same thing with the LVO data. So he'll be able to tell you how many of each game type we played, how often red player won versus blue player.
Oh, wow.
How many of the Rebel list brought Luke, like stuff like that. He's going to totally dig down into all of that. And hopefully get back to us by the end of the week.
I think that's a huge benefit to the community. I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get into what we saw for lists. So, Nick, what did you bring? You're talking about like you're pitching about 3 different ideas right up until the day before.
So because I already had my invite and I wasn't taking this seriously, I decided I was going to try something to really test the limits of the game. What I ended up with was Vader, triple saboteurs, and my plan going in was to go 3-1. I ended up going 2-2, so that's okay. But the core of the list is Vader, triple saboteurs. Turn 1, I can place a bomb at range 7, or essentially I can put a bomb so it's hitting the back of your deployment zone.
Okay.
So that worked once for the day. But the fact that in this system I can put 8 suppression on everything in your deployment zone turn 1 is just incredible.
Yeah, conceptually that sounds really lethal.
Yeah, very.
Did you not see that work every time?
So the 2 games I dropped were both against Luke, triple snipers, and no line of sight blocking maps.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to go 3-1. I went 2-2, and I think a lot of that has to do with the tables, which were fine. Like I was bringing a dumb list, and I deserve it. But yeah, it was great to see how things turned out.
Well, you said one of the games was against Kingsley, who ended up going 5-0. So you know you weren't facing scrub competition.
So both of my losses were to 2 people I expected to be in the top cut. So that's fine. Like I'm happy to lose those games. And they ended up playing top table, which is unfortunate. I wanted both of them to get invites.
Yeah.
Both of your losses played each other in the top cut, right?
Yeah, it was
Nima and Kingsley.
Nima and Kingsley, and both are amazing players.
Yeah,
and
both San Francisco guys,
The sad
too.
part is they're both local to each other, and they play each other all the time.
Okay.
And so I wish both of them had invites, but there's still another chance. So.
Yeah.
Well, that was one thing that was really cool because you kind of did see different metas, kind of interacting for the first time.
Right.
We've got our own Vegas meta, and we had probably about 10, 11 people there yesterday, which was great. But I didn't face any of them, which was I liked because I'm seeing other lists.
Yeah.
We do see a lot of snipers in our local meta, and I faced one yesterday.
Right.
It was totally different.
I did play a local player yesterday.
Oh, you did? Who'd you play?
Matt.
We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, and as I looked around the room, I saw, if you supply a sixth of the players there, inevitably people are going to be matched up. But yeah, we had some Vegas players playing each other. The one thing that I like that you did is you, at least for that first round, where you had some control over who matched who, because everybody was 0-0, you asked, like, hey, if you're local to each other, let me know, and I'll make sure you guys don't get paired round 1.
Right.
I played an X-Wing regional about 2 years ago where 3 of my first 4 games were against locals. And there was over 100 players there, and I think we only had like 10, 11 local people there. Yeah, it sucked. It was not fun.
Yeah, that was one of the actually big changes. Don't make big changes the week before an event, but we did. And originally we were going to use Tome, standard FFG stuff, and we switched over to Tabletop TO. And Tabletop TO is nice because you can set travel groups. So that's why we put that ping out that asked, hey, who are you traveling with from your local groups? We can set you in a group, and the system knows not to pair you in the first round.
That's great because, like I said, I didn't see anybody who I knew right off the bat.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, add a little bit more variety to it. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with more stuff from LVO.
You're listening to the Legion Outriders podcast, a member of the Radio Free Tatooine Network, recorded on location at Power 9 Games. Whether you're looking for the latest releases from Legion, X-Wing, 40K, Magic, or any of our other extensive inventory of board and card games, head to power9games.com and use coupon code Outrider10 to get 10% off your order. Plus, shipping is free on orders over $100. Now, back to the Outriders.
What's going on, Outriders? We're back with we got Matt back in the studio now.
Hello.
So he's here to kind of answer a few questions about his performance yesterday.
Oh, and he has a lot to answer for.
So, LJ, you got the official rundown of the scores from yesterday. How did Matt do yesterday?
So Matt,
why don't you ask me? I'm right here.
Too late.
I was
I've
me.
got the scores.
You can defend yourself in a second, Matt.
Oh, I'm seeing. I'm being put in the corner.
Yes,
so to speak.
like your score, we're going to save you for last.
Oh. Second to last, okay?
But first in
Sorry.
your hearts.
Yeah, but first.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so I think your goal was to make it in the top 60. I believe we talked about that.
I think signing up is what we...
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you were number 60.
Okay, because we had 2 no-shows, so...
Well, so we talked about it in the first part of the cast, but
Okay.
there were drops, re-ads, and somebody who we dropped midday because they stopped playing games. So you were second to last.
Wow.
So not quite.
That's right.
Not quite last enough to get the Bantha Fodder Award.
Yeah, so I couldn't even win an award for being horrible
No,
at this game.
and
I don't know if that's even more worse. Is that?
Well, it's just
yeah.
it's just verification that that's one more thing you're bad at.
Yeah. Okay. I can't even fail right.
Oh man. The award for last place was what we called the Bantha Fodder Trophy, which
Yes.
was a little Jar Jar
I was
thing.
covetous.
Yeah.
I saw that early on.
Yeah.
I was like, that could be mine.
The funny thing about that trophy is that you can put a little bit of water in it, and there's a thing so you can squirt water at people with it. And the other prize we attached to last place was a Power 9 T-shirt.
That would, I was like, that would be great if I could just save the money for the
Outrider
for
T-shirt.
the Outrider shirt. So that's one less we'd have to print out. We save some more money for the show. Great, that'd be great.
I mean, it would
So
have
I
been
couldn't even
economic.
do that.
It would have been a sweet Barricada one. So
Yeah.
there's upsides there.
Yeah.
But so in round one, if you go to TTO, you can see the breakdown of who each person played just by clicking on their name.
That's actually really sweet. I like that.
So in round one, Jace Pippin defeated Matt Turner. Round two, Lyle Kimball or Rock defeated Matt Turner. In round three, Joshua Gray defeated Matt Turner.
Sorry.
And in round four, Keegan Evans defeated Matt Turner.
With the T-47.
Okay, so in my defense, they were, thank you. They were all the greatest players that Legion has to offer. They were all number one. So
I can
was
say with
only defeated by the
100%
best.
certainty
That is not
Josh
true.
Josh was one of those people. So
Yeah.
no.
I mean, he had a perfect 2-2 record. So
Is that like a perfect 5 out of 7? Is that what that is?
I think so. But
So what went wrong?
where would you like to
Where
go?
did you go wrong?
List selection, lack of talent for the game. Take your pick. Circle. Many
Did you
of
not
these,
drink enough
but-
water that morning?
No, actually, I forced myself to go to bed early.
good.
I had ibuprofen and caffeine pills on hand. I was ready, jazzed up, ready to go, and it all just went to crap.
I know-
Like
I know in our game-
NASCAR disintegrating into the wall.
Yeah.
So was my Legion.
I know
career.
in our game you got really jammed up by some really unfortunate dice rolls on each on each side. Your Vader went into my Vader, rolled 10 hits out of the 12, and you got 1 damage through.
Yeah,
it's like
that was good
it's
time.
like
So honestly, there was only one game that I feel like I had just no chance of winning, and that was the first one against Jace. He had triple sniper team. He had Boba, Veers, 4 DLT troops, 2 snow troopers, and the way the board was set up, which I'm sure you guys have gushed about how fantastic the boards were
Oh, yeah.
already.
Yeah.
A little bit.
It was a really cool setup. There was like this arena set up in the middle of the board, but there was some outcroppings right outside of it. So he plopped 3 sniper teams down on there, and they basically had entire field of fire. My list was Vader, 3 Royal Guards, 3 DLT stormtroopers, 1 snow trooper with a medic bot, and I think that was about it. That sounds about right. But I was having to slog across the board, and he just kept sniping away and just chipping damage in there, and then Vader finally went down, and that was kind of the end of that. What's up, LJ?
So we said that Jace Pippin was your round one opponent.
Yes. Oh, and this is the guy I totally screwed out of the top 12 because
So
of my strength
that-
schedule. Yes.
That's
Yes.
actually what I was going to bring up.
Take that,
is
Canada.
I'm looking at the ladder right now,
Mm-hmm.
and Jace Pippin is 13.
Yeah.
So that means he was 1 spot off making the top cut due to strength of schedule, because there was 3 and 1. Not all the 3 and 1s made it in. Some did, some didn't. That means that yes, his strength of schedule determined he did not make it in the top.
Well, I will take the blame for that happily, because as a result of my poor strength of schedule, hitting him, our friend in the local meta, Jeff Miltier, made it into the top 12. who would not have otherwise. So
Yes,
there it
he
is.
did.
yeah,
He did.
it is.
completely.
So you were just in the tank.
He's
for-
playing 3D
Yeah.
chess over here.
Yes, yeah, I'm on a whole new level, and I got to go watch all the other games when I was. I think we were the very first game done of the tournament.
Yes.
with 45 minutes left on the clock.
Yes, that's true.
So,
You did come
I got
number one
promos,
in
baby.
something.
What did you get?
Yeah.
I mean, a bunch of other cool swag, but
Yeah, that was one thing we talked about yet. Like, the amount of swag that everyone brought was incredible.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
LJ, you hooked us up with a whole bunch of alternate art cards. Nick, you brought the Boba Fett card, which is awesome
dope.
artwork on it.
Oh, and the reprinted cards were from him, his work with Impact X, the key
Oh,
positions
nice.
rapid.
Yes. Those are huge.
that everybody got. Those
Yeah.
were from that. I mean, and that's all it was. I mean, none of that stuff was my stuff. That was all, either community given, donated, or crowdsourced.
Yeah.
Like the poker chips that everybody walked away with, that was because people stepped up and bought their sets so I could purchase sets for everybody.
Yeah, those
or they just straight donated money to make them happen. I mean, it was great. It
Those
was
were
it was
awesome.
a community effort.
Plus,
Really.
you had great minis that you had to give away.
Yeah, I know. I told you I almost pulled a fire festival and just left with everything. Because the Skullforge models were awesome. The alternative gaming mini one we had was awesome. The samurai Luke and Vader, those were of course beautiful. Yeah, so
I
much
was
good
promised a
stuff.
cheese sandwich. Where's my cheese sandwich?
Ask him.
Yeah, okay.
John, did you break out the ham sandwiches?
Nobody brought any ham sandwiches for me.
Oh,
I'm gonna.
would you have though?
He thought they were going to be
thrown a game
searching
for a ham
people.
sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By game 3, I would have thrown a game for a ham sandwich. I was
Nobody
getting
tried.
a little hangry. No, nobody did though. The Wookiee onesie made it through half of one game.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I saw it.
Got a little
Yeah.
warm up there.
Yeah, it did.
It was a little
Yeah.
toasty. Yeah.
I mean,
It wasn't horrible.
Yeah, we were actually not on the convention floor,
Yeah.
which at first I was like, oh man, people aren't going to get to see Legion. But at the end of the day, I had to stop and realize that was because we initially had how many slots did we have initially?
So when I started, they had about 15 people or so,
Right.
and then we bumped it up to 50, and then we bumped it up to 64.
Yeah.
So that it wasn't them just kind of shoving us in the corner because
No.
Legion. It was
LJ,
holy hell!
yeah.
You guys had a great response.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we've got to find some place to put you.
You truly
Which,
belong
yeah.
with us here amongst the clouds on floor 26.
Along with
The
the 30
Sky
clay
View Lounge.
Are you
players.
calling me beautiful? Are you trying to pry me away from John? Is that what you're doing?
I could never do that.
Thank you.
You guys can fight over me later. It's fine. So, Josh, give us a breakdown of your games. How'd they go? How'd you finish?
So,
Are we doing all round ones or anything? Because that was just one game. I failed in a lot more than that.
yeah.
Oh.
Don't worry. I'll
Yeah.
cover round 3 for you.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
I'll
cool.
take
All
that
right,
on
yeah,
for
you got that.
I don't know if there's enough podcasts.
Yeah, we only got 64 gigs of data on
Yeah,
this.
right.
So,
Yeah. So my first game, I forget who I played. If LJ wants to look it up,
We don't
it's
have to name drop.
yeah. I played a Palpatine list, which I've just because I haven't gotten a lot of games in. I don't know how he's not very popular
I
here.
think I know who you
necessarily.
played because he messaged the show saying, "Hey, you'd like to come on and talk about how he beat
I
you."
don't.
Oh, yeah, no. Actually, that was actually a guy named Austin, who's
Austin.
from our local SoCal scene.
Okay.
Two
Yeah,
of the,
yeah. He had a Perky Nerd shirt.
Yeah,
on.
two
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
tables, those were his. Two
Yes.
of them.
Oh,
Yeah.
right on.
So I never played a Palpatine list, so I was kind of just shooting in the dark. It was one of those games that I think, there were one or two rolls there that had they gone a little bit better, it might have swung the game. So I felt like I was in it the entire time, but I ended up losing. Second game, I just got tied up and ended up losing. Played John Bushman, I think his name is, who had a great old Han. He had the Han,
I saw
but
that.
he had the Han painted up like the Force Awakens Han.
Oh,
it was
nice.
so cool.
Yeah.
He had a couple of units of Wookiee warriors, and he got his warriors into my backfield before I could get my guards into his, and basically tied up a bunch of units. And then we were playing key positions, and he was just able to sit on the objectives and take that.
Well, just so you know, you did and we talked about Matt taking somebody's strength schedule, but you did tank his strength of schedule
did I
as
really?
well.
Yeah.
Because he was number 14.
Well, I went 2-2.
You did.
Okay, so
You
it's
did.
not like
Nobody
you know,
sandbags like the Legion Outriders.
right? Yeah, right.
So, what we're
Sorry,
here,
yeah.
tear you down and bring us to.
We have
bring
yet to talk about
our
the
level.
superior Outrider, John,
Oh,
so
God.
we'll
Yeah.
see.
Well, and after that second game, I basically told him, like, sorry about your strength schedule, dude, because I was 0-2 at that point. Third game I played you, and you know it was basically dice variance. I don't think you.
We had a very
necessarily-
similar list too.
Yeah, we
so
had very similar
you
lists.
I think you had more practice with it because mostly I copied yours. So
Yeah, sure. You know, I don't think you played a bad game necessarily. I think dice kind of
horrible game might be more appropriate.
But no, I mean,
it was mystifying some of the choices you were making.
What are you, my inner monologue?
Yes,
now?
I know.
Okay, yeah.
You're being too nice about it.
No, I'm not. No, I think you played an okay game. I think you just got.
That's the levels of adequacy I strive for. It was an okay game.
It was okay.
Yeah.
It's not like you were like running them all away. You know, it's like
you weren't Rommel, but you weren't just kind of walking into volley fire.
okay. And then the last game played Lumberjack Nick, who's friend of the show.
Yep.
You know, and we played key positions, and I was just able to kind of camp on the objective in cover and kept him kind of bottled up. And he made a run up one side of the board for the last objective. I didn't have enough guys to shoot him down to prevent him from getting on that objective. But I did have a Vader with Master of Evil, which basically dropped it that last turn, threw all the suppression onto him, and just essentially, because if he'd have double moved onto that objective, he'd have won the game.
Hey, y'all,
so,
stop.
So a timely Master of Evil and plugging him with a bunch of suppression, and he just couldn't get there. So. But it was good. It was a good experience. It was really, I liked it. Yeah.
So how much suppression did your Master Eel drop?
3?
No. How many total?
How many total?
Oh,
Did he empty the bag?
I think it was 15.
So my best game
Yeah.
Oh,
dropped 58 suppression turn 1.
Oh my God!
How do you do that?
Oh, we can finally solve the mystery.
If only there was a blog that we could go
Oh,
to.
yeah, this. Okay.
We were teasing
what
him.
is this list? Okay, we got to rewind this a little bit, Nick, because I've got to have the answer to this question.
So I went over it in the first section. But essentially, the 3 strike teams with the Master of Evil can move twice, drop a bomb at range 1, it explodes at range 1, plus their deployment zone, plus my deployment zone, means I can always drop bombs in the back of their deployment zone. They all go off with suppression. Usually I'm hitting 4 to 6 units per each bomb. They hit themselves, so they die. So 142 points I'm throwing away.
That was the bid you were talking about. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But then I've got DLT stormtroopers who walk up split fire. Each one's doing another 2. So best game, 58 suppression, turn 1.
Yeah, and you were asking, because we were talking about this in a Facebook chat, about like how it was possible to drop so much suppression on the first turn.
Right.
And you were trying to figure out, like, is it mortars? Like, what
That's
is it?
what I
How do you
thought
do
was.
it?
It's like, it's got to be mortars, right?
And we were trying to see if
Yeah.
you could guess it. And yeah, I had experienced the list a couple weeks ago because we played against each other at a local. But it was fun to see it in person and doing damage. And I believe one of the top 12 was also a triple sab list. So triple sab did make it into the top cut.
Yeah, that was a guy I played.
Oh, really? Nice.
Hey, since we got Luke here, any chance we're going to get suppression dice in the future? Just so we can go. Maybe.
As he shrugs his shoulders.
As he shrugs.
Yeah. We'll have Luke on here in a little bit, but I just, as far as tournament experience, I thought it was a lot of fun. Different than X-Wing. X-Wing, you're usually getting 6 games in about the same amount of time. So it was different. You
don't have to play X-Wing players. So
there's that too. There's a lot less, X-Wing is a very predictive game. You know, you're trying to sit there and figure out what your opponent is going to do, so you can respond to it. And I'm like, I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to barrel roll, and I'll take a da 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 da.
So probably the things that like Nick and LJ are doing.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
When they play.
It was also my first Legion tournament period because I played a couple small things here, but nothing on that scale. And there's a battle rhythm, right?
Yeah.
As far as getting your table, getting set up. And I think those first 2 games, for me, it was a lot of rush. Maybe I wasn't making the best decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Hit round 3, had a lunch break, had some time to process a little bit. And, they talk about it in football all the time, and this will be for John. But they talk about, like, rookie quarterbacks in the NFL, like the going from college to pros. The game is just so much faster. So they talk about, rookie quarterbacks, the game slows down for them a little bit, and they can make better decisions in that time. And I think that's what for the back half of the tournament for me. Cool. I felt a lot less rushed trying to make things, and I played you.
Yeah, so, and an Outrider springboard for you, yes. To propel you to greater heights, sir.
Right. So, no, it was good. I thoroughly enjoy, tournament Legion. It's really great.
There is a certain taste to it, and I like it. I'm glad you guys got to participate in it, because there's nothing quite like going to a big tournament for these kind of games.
Yeah, well, it's my first tournament of any kind for any game, and yeah, I thought it was an awesome experience.
How about you, John? How were your games?
So before I get into that, I do want to take a moment and just talk about the hobby aspect and the painting from what I saw there.
Sure.
Because I didn't see a single unpainted army, like an entirely gray army. Am I wrong?
There was
Jeff
one.
had one.
Yeah.
There was one?
Yep,
Okay.
Jeff had one.
Yeah.
Our Jeff?
Yes,
Yeah.
our Jeff.
Oh, God.
Top
Really?
cut Jeff. Yeah.
Because he started playing so recently
Yeah, that's
when he
true.
moved back to Vegas.
And that's the thing. I mean,
Yeah.
he's been playing for what, 2-3 months?
Yeah, and all
rolls
of his
in and
stuff.
makes a cut.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's moving back here from Texas, and all of his paint supplies are still up in storage.
Right.
So.
Yeah, he was actually not the only one that was like that too.
Really?
Okay.
There was another gray army?
Well, not Gray Army, but as far as just rolling in and taking
Oh.
names.
Oh, okay.
From
One of the guys I fought, right?
No, the terrain.
Oh, okay.
the terrain studio, Sean Morris.
Oh, okay.
He's never been to a tournament before for Legion.
Wow.
He plays like 1 or 2 friends in his basement. That's his game experience.
Wow.
And he made the top cut.
He does play a lot, though.
He does play a lot, but again, it's against only the same couple people. So like, it's not a wide range because he's not this like guy that travels, stuff like that. So we had a couple that in my mind kind of came out of the woodwork and were in that top cut group, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
But as far as the painting goes, I got to sit and judge the painting competition, and there was some really, really nice looking armies there. Some really diverse stuff. We had some people had Clone Wars style painted stormtroopers. We saw another person who had a purple and black and gray army. Where does that come from?
I was going to make that joke. Damn it.
Sorry. We had,
Pink and cat ears. I don't understand.
Like Casselsley, was that the guy's name who won it? Casselsley or something like that.
Who got first place in the whole thing?
Yeah.
That was John Griffin.
Oh, he had the Rebel?
For the painting?
For the painting competition.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dan Cass. Yeah.
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 Phenomenal Rebel army. Gotcha. Everything was, edge highlighted. He had an actual display board that matched perfectly with the bases.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was
Wow.
gorgeous.
That's stepping it up.
Well,
Yeah.
And I let my judges judge the competition, but I walked by and I was like, I like this guy.
Yeah.
This is this. And again, I'm an Imperial player, and I looked at it and I was like, damn.
So yeah, there was a lot of really well painted armies, and I'm really happy to see that there were people who were going that extra step. There wasn't a painting requirement for this tournament, but people kind of took it on themselves to do it, and from my perspective, I really enjoyed
I think we'll
that.
see more of that as the game matures too.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
But yeah, my games. So I ended up going 2 and 2 as well.
And you learned the definition of the word within.
I was 1 millimeter away from going 3 and 1 and probably making a top cut. Because the 2 guys that I lost to both made the final table, made the top 12. It was Sean Morris, who you're talking about. He was the guy that I lost to by 1 millimeter.
Yeah.
And the other game was against Daniel, who had the triple Rebel Saboteur list with the FD cannon, and just a good player. I mean, that was the one game that we played that I was like, by turn 2, I'm like, I'm not going to win this game. No chance.
Yep.
We had. intercept the transmissions, he had thrown a bunch of bombs out turn 1 and 2, and there was no way I was getting to those objective points.
You need to get on my level and realize it's a lost cause during setup. So it's like, there's nothing I'm doing here.
It's like, Matt, when did you know you were going to go 0-4? When I walked in.
I'm like a fortune teller for tragedy, but just for myself. So.
Yeah, game 1 I played against Rick Davis, guy from Minneapolis. He was running a Rebel list, and we had the Y-wing on the table that we have here. So I think that maybe played a little bit into that home field advantage.
Right.
That was kind of the centerpiece of the board. So I knew the ins and outs of that thing. And then he made a movement mistake that cost him the game, and karma got me later on. But he played a great game, and it came down to one little mistake pretty much cost him. Second game was against Daniel, like I said, the guy with the triple saboteur list. 3 was with Sean Morris, and he was running Imperials with triple snipers.
I think it was just Veers Boba. Straight, yeah.
Veers Boba.
Boba, Stormtroopers, a flame or 2 snipers.
Yep. And he did a really good job with that list because he was using Boba effectively to not, anybody who runs Boba straight up the middle, I think usually finds that he isn't as durable as you think. But if you use him as a scalpel, kind of go around the outside of the board,
shave the edges off. Yeah.
He did a phenomenal job with that, and got him in scoring position at the end. And the fourth game was a guy named Michael, I think from Salt Lake City, and he was running almost the same exact list actually with Veers, Boba, and a couple flamethrowers. We had that Bespin board though, and I don't think that worked out as well for him. I was able to kind of skirt the line of sight blocking terrain, avoid the snipers, got Han in there and blasted away 2 sniper squads in 1 round of Gunslinger, and that was pretty much all she wrote for that. But I was happy I made the stamina to play 4 full games. I was questioning whether or not I was going to be able to do that. And I think my 4th game was actually my best game.
Yeah, I will say that 5th game, the Top Cut, was by far the most relaxed final of anything I've ever been to in my life. Because we were all jello. We were all like, all right, let's do this. Let's get this done. And so all like the players were like, they were super chill with each other. The judges were walking around shoving burgers down, and people had gone and grabbed beers and stuff, and we're all just like, oh, I should announce that they've got an hour left. We were like,
finish when you finish.
Yeah,
whatever,
we were like
man.
half tear down mode, half like let's let our feet down mode. So I mean, it was. Whew.
So it'll be more relaxed next year when it's a 3-day event and you just do the cut on that 3rd day.
Yes, and the cut will happen inside a pool. Yes.
all of a sudden, you look over at the officials table, and it's like the dude is back there with a White Russian. It's like, it's all good, man. Yeah.
Speaking of those top 6 games, though, we did record all 6 Top Cut games.
Right on.
So those will be on YouTube next week.
What channel?
The Impact X YouTube.
Cool. Right on.
Awesome. So yeah, we'll get a chance to watch those and see.
Yeah, I'm sure
how the better
share
players
that out.
did.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think honestly the biggest takeaway from all this was just how awesome the community really was. I mean, getting to meet so many people that we've interacted with, on Discord or on Legion Facebook page, it was awesome, and I met a lot of great people, and I can't wait to next time I get to play some of these guys.
Yeah, so,
and LJ was there
LJ,
too.
just real quick, what is next year at LVO? What's that shaping up to be?
All right,
Because
so
you talked about it a little bit at the end of yesterday.
Yeah, I said some of the players that came, but we have already started talking with Frontline about next year's event. We'd like to double what we did. We're setting the bar for 128 players, so we're going to double. And we joked about 3 days, but 2 is the goal. We'll do 6 rounds total, 5 rounds Swiss, 1 round Top Cut, and we'll do 3 rounds first day, 3 rounds second day. And hopefully we'll put ourselves in the convention floor. So, part of my like almost kind of community outreach goal was to try to grab like disenfranchised Warhammer players and players of other games and show them why our stuff is the best stuff at the convention. And like the 30K players and stuff that were in our area, they did come by and look. And there was one of the boards had that elevator shaft that had the mirror trick, so it looked like it was going down forever. And I watched that dude flip up under the table to look and see if the shaft went down into the table.
What?
Because yes, no, serious.
It actually goes all the way down into the parking garage, dude. It's like 27th floor straight down.
Oh no, he's peering into the void
down there. Yeah.
And so, we, as I said, we're trying to lay the foundation this year to see if our process worked. I think it did. And so next year we simply like to double what we did and try to go, as I said, 5-round Swiss, top cut, 128, and we'll see if we can get ourselves more than 6 invites this time.
Is Kyle aware of this? Has he signed up already? Is Brendan okay with all this?
Brendan is okay with this.
Okay.
Brendan is like me. He thoroughly enjoys running events.
Awesome.
I'm going to play at Adepticon and try to maybe earn a spot, but Brendan and I both thoroughly enjoy running events. And I may have just signed him up with this statement, but I do believe he plans on returning next year.
Well,
and he was the marshal.
I'd like to announce I'm retiring with a flawless record from Legion to help run events with LJ. You had something I can do, right? No, I like playing too much.
No, it was a great time.
I mean, even the games that I lost, I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like I've had games where like I lost and I'm just like, I give up, I quit, I hate this game. Yeah. Even losing was enjoyable. So
yeah,
and a lot of people.
I definitely noticed that I didn't see anybody that had truly given up.
I saw no salt all day from anything.
People played their games in a lot of cases, and I heard it to the bitter end. They would finish it no matter what because they were there. They wanted to enjoy it. They wanted to have fun.
Awesome. Well, thanks guys for coming in and hanging out with us for a little bit, and thanks for making LVO as awesome of an experience as it was.
Yeah, thanks for having us again.
Yeah, and thanks you guys for helping out. You were a part of the community, part of the setup, and all that. So it really was a community effort. So thank you guys for joining us.
Yay!
Yeah, all right.
Well, until next year, I guess we'll have to work on our game and figure out how to not embarrass ourselves next year.
I would call 2-2 embarrassing.
Yeah, if you figure it out, let me know.
All right, guys, take it easy.
You've been listening to the Legion Outriders podcast, a member of the Radio Free Tatooine Network.
Only now, at the end, do you understand?
For more from the Outriders, make sure you like us on Twitter @Legion Outriders, subscribe to our Facebook page at facebook.com/Legion Outriders, and make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast. Thanks for listening.
You're all clear, kid. Now let's blow this thing and go home.